2023. We are
Yeah.
almost halfway, well, 5 months through the year already. Where is the time going?
Yeah. Hopefully it's going where you want it to.
Yeah,
Remember,
right.
you are in control over that. Things don't just happen unless you're not paying attention and not being purposeful with your time.
Exactly. So as we're creeping into the summer here, no matter where you are in North America, or even our friends in Europe, the weather's obviously getting
Temperatures are
warmer. Temperatures
rising.
are rising. Here in Texas, it is definitely getting warmer. Today is
Yeah.
actually a cool day, but
Early, if you're out early,
if you're
it's
out
still going to
early,
be 90. So, but yeah, if you're in the South, you're already dealing with this. Up north, you probably have a little more reprieve, but these are things that but we really just want to reiterate because a lot of times when we're all runners. We've been running for a long time, for a lot of you for decades. Um, and we just kind of take things for granted. We just don't. We're kind of like, oh, whatever. This is what we do. But as we get older, we always have to, we hate saying that, but it's true. We have to watch our recovery. We have to watch our training. We have to watch all these things. And the heat is no different, but for every runner. And we just want to make sure that you guys are um, reminding. Most of this should be reminders, but keep in your forefront because this is one of the things that can critically go wrong and have some serious, detrimental outcomes.
so again, this is stuff that we're going to talk about that we research and that we share. As we say
Mhm.
each and every week, this is not medical advice. Please take this, do your own research, consult with your physician,
Always, yep.
because you're going to become a better version of yourself each and every day, as we are. So that's our goal, is become better, a little bit better each and every day. And doing that research is something we're very passionate about, both of us. And so that's why we love sharing this with you guys. Quick recap of last week: the critical aspect of trying to eliminate seed oils and how it hurts your running. Remember, now your cells rely on fats, and there's two types of fats: saturated, unsaturated, and the PUFAs, the polyunsaturated, are the ones that are just downright dangerous at excessive levels.
Yeah, and we're talking about the industrial seed oils.
Yeah.
There's natural PUFAs, that you still want to eliminate or limit. But if you can eliminate the seed oils, it's just better for your health.
The industrial manufactured ones, as Patty said. So if you think about it, in 1965, it was about 1 to 2% of our diets. That's the amount we consume. Now it's about 25%. As of 2010, that's now 13 years ago. So it's even worse now. But that was the data that we pulled up. And that you just look around, go out in society, just look around and see what people look like. And that
the increase in that in our food supply directly correlated with the increase in our waist size. So it's a pretty it follows a similar curve. So there's enough research, but like I said, do your own. This is what's from all that we've seen. I've this is what I believe. There's a lot of things that are indicating that this is a big cause of all most chronic diseases, which are crippling our country. So
yeah, especially in the U.S. here. So today we're going to talk about these tips to conquer the hot weather running. And
I run with a water bottle, no matter how long I'm running. I got in the habit of doing that just to make myself drink more water during the day. You have it, you're going to drink it. It's that. I know most runners don't like to carry water. I used to be like that. I used to never carry water, but this is the time where it's going to be critical for you to do so. But what happens running in the heat? If you live in the South, you're going to be experiencing some pretty high humidity, high heat, dangerous conditions or whatever. So we know it increases your heart rate. It's going to it's going to make your efforts feel harder. The reasons why it's doing that, your body's taking extra energy to cool. You have an internal body temperature that your body 98.6 or whatever, it wants to keep that there. Any fluctuations in that, it critically monitors. And once we get above 102, that internal temperature, your body starts to shut down. So any deviant, that's not much from almost 99 degrees, but that creates significant like sends alarms to your body. It's going to stop you by, you know, the methods that it has, because cooling is its number one thing. You go too far with heat, too low with heat, you can die. So your body is,
Again, your body's designed to protect itself. It's
exactly.
survival is its number one goal. And again, we need the muscle, the energy towards our muscles, but because if you're overheating, it's going to focus your body on cooling. And as we age, it becomes less efficient. So this goes back to why as we all are masters runners, we have to focus that much more on nutrition and strength training.
And rest, recovery, and this, and know
hydration.
That we are going to be more susceptible to having all the heat, the things that can happen, these risk factors. It's with age. It just is. Our sweat glands don't work the way they do. Our body doesn't cool itself as well. And we know when it can't do that, that's when serious things can happen. So you're going to sweat more. We know you don't just lose water when you sweat, you lose electrolytes. Those electrolytes are things that keep all our processes going. So you get deficient on that. Some key ones, you know, salt, magnesium are the big ones. You're going to have, you know, it's going to affect your body. It's going to affect a whole host of things. So that's things to look out for. But
yeah, it's going to decrease your running performance. So don't beat yourself up, because it just common sense is going to say, I'm overheating. Your body has got to do all the things we just mentioned here. Focus on cooling. You're going to become dehydrated, and so your performance may be impacted.
It will actually, for
heat
and humidity, and that's everybody. I don't
Doesn't
care.
matter who you are, even elite runners.
Yeah, elite East African runners that are used to the heat and humidity. If their core body temperature starts to go up, their body will shut down, no matter how well they're trained. This is like I said, survival mechanism that your body has. So being aware of that, making adjustments for that is the key. So we just want you to run out there safely. You know, that's the thing.
So obviously there's some signs of heat exhaustion. If you're having muscle cramps, that's a critical one, which we've all experienced at some point in time.
Yeah, that losing the sweat, or, you know, losing water, but you don't just lose water, it pulls electrolytes. Those electrolytes are key with muscle function. So when you start to lose too much of that, and then you get that imbalance, and you're going to have muscle cramps. What your body does, it's pulling away, diverting blood to the skin so it can cool it. Less energy you're going to have to be able to run. Your body is purposely slowing you down, creating that fatigue, so you do slow down. And it's, you know, the sweating, when the heat and humidity, you sweat, but you know it sticks to you. How you cool is by the sweat evaporating off of you. So if the air is saturated, that evaporation doesn't happen as much. So your body's working, you're going to keep like sweating more and sweating more. I mean, a lot of us sweat a lot, but there's a time where it's going to get to where it's not enough, you know, your body, and then you're losing even more. And one of the weirdest things is you get that, like when you get a fever and you're cold, or you're burning up. It's the same principle there. Cold, clammy, and you can even get the goosebumps. That's a sign that your body is not cooling well enough. So listen to those signs.
Yeah, headache is a very, very common one. This is when I was not conscious or didn't know as much about the hydration aspect of being out in the heat and running and bicycling and things like that. I would get headaches and didn't know why, and I just didn't put it together because I just didn't know. And I was massively dehydrated, and so it makes sense. And dizziness is another thing that
you get lightheaded. You start
easily happen.
Yeah. So these are and like I said, it's diverting all that blood away from your digestive tract too, and your muscles or whatever. So you can actually really feel nauseous too. So those are signs. You start to see that you need to stop, slow down, hydrate, cool your body down. You need to cool your body down. These are the early signs. If you ignore these, once you get into heat exhaustion, it can quickly go into a heat stroke, and that can have, that's what we don't want. I mean, that ultimately that can actually kill you. So where we're like push through, you suck it up. These are not, I know we have those mantras as runners, but this is not the time. you really have to be in tune, and you really have to be watching of, like, yeah, I normally sweat when I run, but if you're pouring sweat, yeah, this easy run is feeling really, really hard. These are signs, like I said, and definitely the goosebumps. That's a really big sign, because that's something you really notice. It's like, wow, it's 95 degrees out here, and I've got the goosebumps. Your body not regulating right.
Yeah. So when preparing to run in the heat, is really you have to recognize it's going to take you about 10 to 14 days to adjust, right? So we're in that time of year where the temperatures are just starting to creep up. So if you plan on running through the summer, now is that time to really focus and gradually build up.
Yeah, and Texas, we've been having kind of a longer stint of the little cooler temperatures. Usually, it's like okay, and then bam, a lot of places where you're at, it's almost seems like it happens within a day. It's like everything's fine, and then it's 100 degrees. It's a little bit slower than that, but what happens during the summertime? People go on vacations or whatever, especially if you're up north. So it's been nice and cool in the 70s, maybe low 80s, and you go on your Caribbean vacation, and you, for runners on vacation, I know we do, it's like, where are we going to run? Where am I going to run? Oh, that nice beach run or something like that. Know that if you've been going from here to there, you're going to have to really watch what you do, because your body is not going to be acclimated. Like I said, 10 to 14 days to that's running in the heat. So be mindful of that.
Yeah, and then obviously use common sense like moisture wicking, light, loose clothing. This is like we always have this on now. It's so warm that we typically wear this all the time, but it's just critical, especially when you're running, and especially the color. I still see people running in dark colored shirts. I'm like, what are you thinking?
Yeah, black just absorbs
Absorbs the heat, right?
More of the heat. So light colored, the technology is out there. The moisture wicking has been out there for a while. Thank God. Everyone knows you're not supposed to run in cotton. I'm pretty sure that's a well-known thing. But they have, like I said, a visor is better. A headband is better than a hat. If you have to wear a hat, then you want a moisture wicking one. They do have ones with SPF. We have the whole technology. There's lots of things out there that you can do.
Now, for men like myself, I've got a little bit of thinning hair, although I've got a secret to stopping that. That's a separate conversation. But that being said, is I always wear a hat, and so, but it's one of those hats that is moisture wicking. So again, choose your own avenue that's best for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is another thing. We did a whole live stream on this one about the mineral sunscreen and the dangers of the ones that you go into the store and buy, the chemical ones. The chemicals that are inside those other ones are just, oh my gosh.
Your body absorbs, and it stays with you for much longer than they thought. Other countries have banned some of these products, but good old USA is still putting them in our sunscreen. So FDA is supposed to be looking at doing that. I've heard that years ago. What they're doing about that, they move at a snail's pace, so who knows? So do your own research. But mineral sunscreens, yes, they're a pain to put on. Yes, they're a lot thicker, but much better for you. You're not going to be absorbing toxins into your body.
And obviously, check the heat index with our technology nowadays, either on your laptop, your desktop, or your phone. You can check that very, very easily.
If you live in the South and you know what the feels like temperature is, that means that's the heat index. Whether it says it's 80 degrees, but we know if it's 80, 90 degrees and it's 20% humidity, not that bad. If it's 90 degrees and 95% humidity, really bad. So that is the heat index, and
we check that all the time when we run it because we're in the South here. So obviously another common sense thing, avoid blacktop. Yes, it's softer for your feet, but it's going to absorb that heat and bounce it back up to you, which is going to just exacerbate all the things we just talked about.
Yeah,
so
on a hot day, you could raise it up well over 100 degrees.
Easily. So this is something that we can do here. We try to use this, again, common sense, try to run where there's trees so you can get under the shade to relieve that little bit. You know what that feels like? You're in the sun. You're like, oh my Lord, this is just, I'm burning up. And you get in the shade and the temperature drops because, it just does.
So parks and stuff, shady routes, anything that you can do to mitigate that. That is a big difference. Having the sun beating on you versus having being in the shade, even with the same temperature, same humidity, heat index is a big difference. So make sure that happens. Don't forget about the chapstick. You don't want getting those lips chapped, burned. It's a thing. Sometimes we don't think about that. And obviously sunglasses to prepare. Now I've stopped wearing them in the morning because I'm running early morning and I want that sunlight, but do with what you feel comfortable with, what your doctor recommends. But if you're out there for long durations, you're going to want some sunglasses for that.
So here's some tips about pre, during, and post hydration. Again, hydration is the most critical thing when running in the heat. Prior to it, 8 to 12 ounces, about 15 minutes prior. And again, what we do for our electrolytes is we just pour real salt in our water. A couple dashes of that will actually do the trick.
Yeah, I mean, I take potassium throughout the day. I have magnesium. I take higher levels of magnesium. That's just what I do. I'm not saying to do that. But there's plenty of noon elements. There's plenty of electrolyte things, especially if you want your water to taste better. If it makes you drink more water, yes. You should be hydrating days before, especially if we're talking about a race. But you should be increasing your water. Everyone should be having ideally 100 ounces of water a day. But when it starts to get warmer out, they need to have electrolytes. You can't just be drinking plain water. You lose water and electrolytes. And if you're drinking a bunch of water because you're sweating and it doesn't have electrolytes in it, you're going to get that electrolyte imbalance. And that's when things go really, really bad. You feel sick, you can feel dizzy, you can get cramps, you get all kinds of things, because anything that disrupts our normal balance, throws our body out of whack.
And then when you're running in, especially when it's hot, about 3 to 5 ounces every 30 minutes. If you're doing a longer run, you're just going to need to keep that
You're going to
constant.
have to carry.
Yeah, you're going to have to carry water. And then, of course, you don't realize, like, I can lose multiple pounds if I go on a run and it's really warm. Again, males tend to do that more. My body's different than someone else as well. But I can lose 3 or 4 pounds easily going on a run.
But how you know that is you weigh yourself before and you weigh yourself after. For every pound that you've lost, you need at least 16 ounces of water. Ideally with electrolytes, remember, because we don't just lose water. Remember that. So, like I said, this is critical on your longer runs. You're probably going to have to, the handheld thing only has 22 ounces. You're going to have to either have a CamelBak, or you're going to have to place water on the route, or doing a loop, come back to your car and get water. Do not do an out and back with not enough water with those high temperatures. That's what sets yourself up for just putting yourself at risk that you don't need to.
Yeah. Obviously, you still want to do your dynamic warm-up before you go out on a run. But the extra thing here is to get a towel, either with really cold water or even have it on ice earlier and then wrap it around your neck.
So this is a pre-cool thing. If you saw at the Olympics or whatever in Beijing, where it was super hot or whatever, they have their whole cooling vest before. You want to warm up. Now, I don't even know how much those are, but we don't need those. You soak a towel in water, put it in the freezer, get it out in the morning. You want to be warmed up. So if you jog a mile or two for your warm up, if you do a dynamic warm up, whatever that is, do that. Have this. If you're driving somewhere, you're going to put that towel in a Ziploc bag because it's going to get very wet and messy. But cool yourself, put it on your neck, put it on your head, put it on your arms or whatever that can pre-cool you. And then if you have that 15 ounces of, or that water that you're going to take 15 minutes before, have it be ice water. That's going to cool your internal temperature. So you're starting out a little bit cooler. Like I said, here in Texas soon, it's going to be into the 95, 100 degrees with 100% humidity. It's going to be in the dangerous things. We're going to have to be running super early, but we're still going to be having those high, heat index times. So you need to do all this. It doesn't take that much longer. It's vitally important that you err on the side of caution versus, I'm just going to kind of see what happens. I always run like this. I've lived here for how long? I can do this. It's fine. We are getting older. We have to
As
be
we get
more.
older, things change. Sadly,
does.
we know that, right? So common sense again is choose the right time of day when you know it's going to be really hot. If you can do it pre 7 a.m., that's even going to be better, or post 7 p.m. when the day is starting to cool off a little bit. Just obviously use your common sense and your research with the heat that you're going to deal with that day.
But I still see people, they're usually younger people that are running in the middle of the day. And I'm just like, you can't tell me that this is the best time for you to run. So I know none of you guys are doing that. If that's the only time you can run, then you're going to really have to do some extraneous things to make sure that you do that safely. So set yourself up for success. Do it, when it's best.
Yeah, and have extra water in the course to pour on you if needed. So there's, again, if you're doing it out and back, have extra water at some spot, take it, pour it on you. You know how good that feels. Almost a little bit scary, if you will.
On your neck, that makes a big difference. That can lower that body temperature, and that might be enough just to keep you out of that. Once you get in that critical zone of your, threshold of your internal body temperature changing, that's when your body is going to start to instantly, those survival mechanisms kick into place. So cooling that down and having, like I said, an extra bottle if you have to drive there and set it out beforehand. If you're doing a 15, 16, 20-mile run, it's worth it. Have it set up to where you're going to have that, because it might start out cool. You start out at 6:30, it's great. But if you're in the deep South, that doesn't last very long. And by 8 o'clock, it could be into the 80s. And by 9 o'clock, if it's, depending on how long you're out there, it could already be close to the 90s. So you may start out and feeling okay, but halfway through, you're on an out and back. That back part of it could really put you in danger. So simple little thing, just have some water. Ideally pick a course where you can have water. So, like I said, err on the side of caution. This is, you don't want to get stuck and have things go south, because once you start to get into that danger zone, it quickly escalates, and you might not have the wherewithal. If you're getting dizzy, you're feeling nauseous.
You might not have the time at that point
and the extreme fatigue, you might be in real trouble. So we don't want that happening.
And carry ID again. That's common sense. If you're going to do long runs in the heat, just in case something happens,
everyone should be carrying ID.
Yeah, you should be anyway. Yeah. And obviously, then modify the intensity and the duration, and just adjust your expectations. As you said a minute ago, you're not going to be at your best performance when it's just that much hotter.
You cannot do the same intensities. You cannot do your speed workouts. You can do all that kind of training because that's when you have to do your training for your fall races. But you're going to have to adjust the paces. And sometimes it's going to be a minute a mile, 2 minutes a mile. Remember, your body does not know pace, it knows effort. Having a heat index of that high that effort is going to be at a slower pace. Same effort. So you're still getting those same adaptations, but you need to adjust that. You're going to 100% be slower than you were in the wintertime. But if you know that, it's not that your effort is not, it's just you have to do that because your heart rate's increased, your body's working harder, you're doing all those things. You're going to have to increase your fuel needs probably. You're going to have to definitely increase your water and electrolyte needs. Doing all that, you can still train all summer long. And the key to training all summer long is that you're going to be faster when it cools off for your fall race.
Yep, exactly. So that's one of the benefits that's going to come out of it. So a couple of recovery tips here. Again, make sure you're replenishing your electrolytes. Your recovery needs are going to increase. You're just going to need more time. Again, we're getting older. That just kind of goes to the territory, such as more sleep, maybe more rest days. Adjust your training plan. Again, it's common sense at that point. Monitor your other activities. So if you run in the morning, if you're doing stuff in the afternoon, like out yard work or just out and about with family and grandkids or kids or whatever those things are, and it's hot out, you just got to monitor how you are, because your body is now, used up all that energy.
Even if you're not, like I said, even if you're not doing activities that are like where you're sweating, just remember, if it is hotter outside, your body is still has to work harder to keep your body cool. So that's going to factor into, it's going to take you long to recover. It's going to, especially if you do that run, you feel recovered, or you think you do your normal recovery or whatever, and you're still trying to do out and do other activities, and you start to be like, oh, why do I feel like I got hit by a brick? That's, you're just be mindful of any extra activity that's outside, even if it's just walking, even if it's just carrying stuff in from outside, and that your body's always just working a little bit harder. So just have that in the forefront of extra. You might alternate in your training plan. You have to alternate your intensities for your speed workouts. You might have to decide that running 6 days a week is not, during the summertime, is not as good for you. You might need to run 5 days a week, and that's okay, and have a whole nother rest day in there. Be flexible with that, and give yourself grace, because your speed workouts are not going to look like your winter speed workouts. They're just not going to. But if you know that, then you can go along with it, stay the course, do it safely, and be better on the other side.
And then lastly, just consult with your health professional. Again, you always work with your doctor. None of this stuff we're sharing is medical advice, obviously, but we are sharing with what we do and what we research. And so you guys can take that, do your own research, and
with anything that you
apply.
Anything that you have going on extra that's outside of running, always factor all of those things in. But do it safe.
In closing today, as we say each week, this is all based upon your consumption of nutrition, right? So if you don't have that dialed in, you're going to struggle. So if you guys need some help getting started, you can just go to runtips.us/call. It's on the bottom of the screen there.
Mm-hmm.
Can't tell you how many people we talk to. Just those minor changes will put you on the right path, because so many people struggle with this. And that's why we talked about the Cetos last week, because you have no idea how much you're consuming right now, and it's impacting your running. I can guarantee it is. If you cut that out, you're going to feel better, and you're going to lose some weight, but you're just going to be healthier in general. But just you got to know what to look for, and so we can help guide with some stuff in that. Nothing. There's just it's shocking how much minor changes that you can make to make some big impacts. So
yes, so we all want you living that healthy lifestyle, so you can keep running later in life, as we all are doing, and feeling good.
Yep, exactly. So you got to runtips.us/call. It's on the bottom of the screen. Set up a time, and there's no cost for that, and you can do that at your convenience. So with that, we're going to let you guys get back to your Saturdays. Hopefully you guys have a great weekend. Get a run in if you can. Get outside and get some fresh air, get some vitamin D, get some sunshine. And
just be safe about it.
Be safe about it. All right.
Happy Saturday, everyone.
See you next week.